This Friday, one of the sexiest movies ever made arrives.
Want me to come tuck you in?
Critics are calling Challengers fierce, electrifying, and deliriously enjoyable.
So, how often does this happen? Going after the same girl?
This is Zendaya like you've never seen her before.
Unfortunately, my only skill in life is hitting a ball with a racket.
I want you to be my coach. I want you to be my coach.
Luca Guadagnino's Challengers is nothing short of miraculous.
I'm taking such good care of my little white boys.
It's an utterly magical experience.
Decimate that little bitch.
Zendaya mesmerizes like nothing she's previously done.
You're not a member of my fan club?
It will leave you breathless. Do not miss this movie. Challengers.
Good night.
Rated R.
Hello,
Only
I'm
Theaters
Thomas
Friday.
Carruthers, and once a year we commune to discuss. Is this swiftly because I don't know? Because in some ways it's kind of the meme group. It's kind of the hip. My even though you're all the same age, like my youth.
Council of ladies.
Yeah, my youth correspondence section. However, it just so happens that we've now done. Would you call "Don't Worry, Darling" an erotic thriller?
I always said like we do the sexy films.
Yeah.
We do. Yeah, we do cover the sexy films.
What's next? I don't want to be depressive, but I don't think there's anything on the horizon.
I've got to wait till next year. This is the.
Well, there
You
is.
did say yearly, so
Well, there is coming soon a movie called Baby Girl, where Nicole Kidman is a high-ranking businesswoman who's having an affair with Harris Dickinson, which could fall into this.
No, I know what we should do. We should do the idea of you, the Harry Styles fan.
yes, and yeah, the Anne Hathaway and what's his face?
Nicholas Galazzo too.
Yeah, I love him. He's so cute.
Oh, okay, that actually could work. I might. It's been getting
Unless
middling.
the Nicole Kidman one does the rounds on TikTok, I don't see it really.
Yeah, it's probably going to be depressing. Right. We've played this game before, but never has it been more apt. Oh, the wonderful Jazz. Hello, Jazz.
Hi.
The wonderful Hannah. Hello, Hannah.
Hello.
And the wonderful Rhian. Hello, Rhian.
Pleasure to be here.
We've played this game before. Let's play it one more time because this might be the ultimate version of this game. Name things that I like.
Leggy blondes.
Tennis.
Dennis. Like,
Erotica.
erotic. Keep going. There's more.
Threesomes.
Wow.
Extramarital affairs.
Gay undertones.
Yeah, sure. The
Title cards.
I do. I. This is the thing. I love title cards and use them often in my scripts, but I don't like. Will noted this. Because when we did No Time to Die, and it was just like nothing annoys me more than like a picture of Big Ben and then it comes up London. I'm like, I know. That's, or I mean, I watched The Hangover the other day, and like you've got the opening, and then it says 2 days earlier. It's like, yeah, I know. I know that they didn't then go straight from being on the side of a road to a tuxedo store. I know this is how things work. Anyway, but I talked about this film years ago. Like this came on the radar like years and years ago. It got delayed because of the strikes, and it got delayed because of was it a COVID?
Yes, because the present day is set in 2019.
Yes. Principal photography began on May the 3rd, 2022. So I don't know. Anyway, this was on my radar for a very long time. I love Luca Guadagnino. He's kind of got a. I don't. Has he got a 5 for 5? I love I Am Love. I love Call Me by Your Name. I love A Bigger Splash. I love
Suspiria.
That was my next one. Suspiria is fantastic, and Bones and All, which I believe Rhian was enough skinny twink boy to lead you to watch a graphic horror movie, I believe.
Yeah, I would not have done it had it not been
Yeah.
for my boys.
and Jazz, of course, has to scout out whoever's Harry's dating at any time. Oh no, that was before.
Yeah. Because there was rumors going around that Timothée Chalamet and Taylor Russell were dating, but no.
Wait, are they not together anymore?
No, Harry Styles is with Taylor Russell.
Harry Styles is
Yeah.
with Taylor Russell, but at the time of Bones and All, that was the whole rumor that was coming out.
All right.
I thought we were saying because like Taylor Russell is currently dating Harry Styles, but yeah,
I know
no,
it's a good match. I like it.
No, I love it. It's great.
She makes him better. I like him more because
Yeah.
Is Timothy
Rest
Chalamet
him.
a father?
Oh,
no,
let's
don't. I'm scared. I'm waiting
because
for
it
the
makes me feel-
announcement.
It makes me feel like I'm not a feminist if I say that I'm mad that she's pregnant with his baby. Like, I can't support this
Digital
pregnancy.
footprint be damned.
And this
God.
is how long have they been together? Maybe he came home doing his Bob Dylan impression, and she was like, "Now."
No, they were together before that.
No, I know.
She didn't think twice. It's not all right. I really hope
That was good, Hannah. That was good, Hannah. You do know, for as much as you hate Mad Men in concept, that is a huge song at the end of series 1.
Yes, I know. I've watched season 1 of Mad Men.
Oh, and then you stopped, didn't you? Yes, I
Yes,
forgot that.
yes.
Yeah. Anyway, challenges. So my expectations were incredibly, incredibly high. I love Zendaya, obviously. Euphoria is excellent, and you know, I obviously love Zendaya. Who wouldn't? I mean, the line in the film is very accurate. You know, "Are you everybody's type?" She's just one of our great superstars that we currently have. And I don't like Dear Evan Hansen, so I was never fully on the Mike Fice train until Riff, which he was sensational as. And probably now, what are we, 4 years on? Definitely kind of the lasting memory of that film. Because as much as Ariana DeBose won an Oscar, I don't really think about her Rita at all.
I think her
go on.
lasting memory is Angela Bassett did the thing.
That will forever haunt
To the
her, I
point
guess.
where we were watching the Hamilton pro shot the other day, and I said, of course, Ariana DeBose, and both my flatmates went, who? And then I had to say, Angela Bassett did the thing, and they went, oh my God, that's her. Forgetting she had a whole Broadway career that led her to do that in the first place.
Yeah,
Anyway.
What is she? She's the bullet.
Bullet, yeah.
Yeah, which
Mm.
is a very funny sentence. And Josh O'Connor, this is where we turn to you, Jazz. I've never been a Crown person, but for as long as I've known you, you've been a tremendous Crown person. We were actually living together during what I'll call the Diana years.
The resurgence of her. Well, she's up forever. No, my mum literally, because I watched it with my mum, because that's the only way I could get to the cinema, the one cinema that was like showing it at the time I needed it to. And she just turns to me, she goes, "That's fucking Prince Charles." And I was like, "Yes, mum, yes, it is." So, lasting memory of Josh O'Connor there.
Mm-hmm.
Am I stupid, or has there been anything since?
For him,
He's going to be gay with Paul Mescal.
is he?
Yes,
Yeah,
it's called The History of Sound, which does sound like a fake name.
That's the working title. They've not got the real one yet.
They're trying to figure it out. I say all this to say that I was immensely excited. I won't say trepidatious, because there's kind of already like a roof with those people being involved that I was definitely going to enjoy it to at least 40%. Like, I have enough faith in everybody involved that I knew it wasn't going to be a disaster. However, yeah, after a second watch, I'm just fully in. It couldn't have been better. Well, no, it could have been better, but I still think it's 10 out of 10. I do have a few minor things. And then, well, actually, do I have a major thing and I'm just lying to myself? We'll talk about it later. But no, I thoroughly loved it. Rhian, you infamously, like any podcast we do, you're always like, oh, the sex wasn't necessary. I would have changed this, blah blah blah. And then like you love Saltburn, you're a little Saltburn freak, and now you want to play, and now you love challenge.
Also, like, roll the tape where I've said I didn't think the sex was necessary.
You didn't like Oppenheimer.
Yeah, but I feel
What
like that's
other
a
things?
different kind of sex.
Mm.
No, I see what you're getting at.
Both
yeah,
destructive, cheating men.
True. This definitely awoke something in me that had been dormant for a very long time, and I
What
feel
was
like
it? That I want two boyfriends. That's what I came out of that with.
I feel like I can be vulnerable on this Christian podcast. Big fan of men, big fan of athletic men, big fan of submissive men. This ticked all the boxes for me.
If you're already being open, so I'll be open. The past 4 months, you've decided to not attempt any boyfriend at all, and now you want 2.
Yeah, it's all or nothing at the end of the day. I think that is the move for me.
Mm-hmm.
No, I thoroughly enjoyed this film. To quote ourselves on the previous pod, and to quote Harry Styles' OBE, it feels like a movie, in the sense that I had such a visceral like excitement, not in that way, but while watching, I was
in that way. It's okay. It's okay.
Well, in every sense of the word, I was on the edge of my seat, and I finally understood
tennis,
the experience of sports fans in general.
Oh,
where the structure and the setup is predictable in a sense, like one of 2 ways that it's going to pan out, but you still can't wait for that release and that resolution. And I'm going to hand over before I make any more innuendos.
Put a pin in that. Hannah.
Yes.
Initial response.
Well, let me just say, I had a very responsive audience in my screening. Everybody was gasping. It was like,
I wish I had that. It was just me, and like everyone. It was quite busy. It takes a lot for me to be a rude audience member, but there was. I became quite. I'm very visceral when it comes to actually watching tennis. I love tennis. Everybody knows this, and I'm very. And I did clap inside the cinema. But when when his shot lands out, when the shot lands in, because it does land in. I watched very carefully on the second watch. When it lands in, and Spike, I literally had a guttural reaction of, oh, she said, and I'm watching a fake movie. And also another one was when he does the I'm gonna do a big shot, and then he just does a little tap, and I was like, yeah, great tennis. This is a fake thing. And no more visceral reaction than the firm like nodding of my head during obviously the moment of the year thus far at the very end of the film. And I was like, yeah.
Screaming like Zendaya from the bleachers.
Well,
it was so bad. Like, I walked out of the cinema to go to the toilet afterwards, and I looked in the mirror, and my hair was standing like up because I had literally been like this. I had literally pulling out my hair, like the scene in The Storm. I was like, the fuck. Yeah, no, I was really I had a lot of response to the entire film.
Jazz, I hope you don't disappoint me here. But I think you might. This hasn't necessarily been pivoted and marketed as a Team Jacob, Team Edward situation. However, I knew Rhian's answer straight away, so that goes without saying. The minute a Meep walked onto the screen.
Sorry, can you, for the folks at home, can you address what a Meep is?
It's like when I first watched Holdovers, and I was like, oh yeah, or whenever Timothée Chalamet is like not like if there is Rhian's taste, it's Timothée Chalamet. It's Paul in Doom Part 1, but Part 2 she doesn't want any part of it. Rhian loves tall, slinky. Well, infamously, Rhian loves men who are quite effeminate and gay-coded. To the extent that we were in a bar and she did very openly hit on what I can politely refer to as the gayest man I've ever seen.
Really, I remind Dirty Laundry. Thank you.
No, that's all right.
It's just like a kind of grovelly, like pathetic character, and Tom likes to imitate them by saying meep meep.
Meep meep. Now, Hannah, you're a Broadway. I mean, you like musicals, Jazz, but you're a musical stan more, I think so. And so the fact that you liked Mike Fice / Art Donaldson is also less of a surprise. Jazz, please don't let me down here.
We could have a very interesting doubles match on our hands.
Yeah.
Please tell me your hashtag team's vying.
Okay. I asked my mum when she came out, I was like, Mum, like, I said the same kind of thing. I was like, Edward, Jacob, like, who are you going for? And she did say Patrick. She's Team Patrick.
And your mother's a wonderful woman, Jess, in the words of Patrick.
She's great. Love you, Tina. I think I'm Team Patrick. Yeah, I'm going to say Team Patrick. Just because, like, I feel like, personally, I think Art is the villain of the story. Like,
yes.
In my
Thank you. Watching it on a second watch, I was like, oh, this guy.
Well, this is the thing. I, like, watched all the interviews, and they were like, every time you watch it, like, you'll feel like something different for a different person. So I went in and I was like, Zendaya's not the villain. Like, everyone wants her to be the villain. So I'm going to look at the guys. And I was like, oh, you little fuck. Like, he really loved to play on that whole, oh, I'm just a little lapdog. Like, he was playing on that the whole time. So, also, in my opinion, Art is the villain.
We need to. So, I was watching a series of interviews, and they were talking. One of the interviewers was like, and of course, guys, nobody's talking about the fact that Art is the one who actually starts the argument. Also, so two-pronged thing. Yes, Art is the one who instigates the argument in the glorious one take. But more importantly, and I guess this goes to my bias of 5-set versus 3-set. Zendaya has great form. Tashi has great form. And she's playing a great game. It's a random accident. She can't blame it on Patrick because they had one argument prior and she didn't do her yoga.
I'm very superstitious like that when it comes to shows. Like, I have like a pre-show ritual, and the like one time that I haven't done it, like, I've then gone on to fuck up, and I'm like, I'm superstitious like that. So if I was her and someone fucked up my pre-show ritual, I would blame them.
Yeah, and we've established that she is that kind of person as well, like with her hour of meditation. Like, she's very ritualed and principled, and so you know, she is gonna, you know, even if she doesn't like consciously blame him, she's still going to link those two events in her mind. And then it's exacerbated by the fact that when she was injured, he wasn't there, like in her hour of need.
She wouldn't have wanted him there. If he was at the stands, then she would have blamed the injury on you. Why were you there?
We don't know that.
Potentially.
All this is to say that on the heels of what I like adamantly declared as one of the great screenplay debuts of the century with the wonderful May December, we've got another. I don't know whether you describe May December as a love triangle. Obviously, that's quite thwart a thing to say, but another just absolutely brilliant adult drama that's simultaneously very dramatic, but also incredibly darkly funny and quite campy, and just three individuals caught in a series of situations, like 2 hours. Well, no, May December anyway, but just scene after scene, no fat. It's just marvelous. And then you throw in there a movie that I did really enjoy, but I wouldn't put in that ranking of the wonderful Celine song with Past Lives as well, which we are bound to discuss. Do we think there's actually somebody out there who's because Celine song said that Past Lives was quite autobiographical. We do know that they're married. Sorry, did I say this?
Who's married to who?
Celine Song and Justin Kuritzkis, who wrote Challenges.
Oh yeah, no, I saw that on Twitter. So are you assuming that there's some like autobiographical elements in this film?
I mean,
Where he's
I
like,
don't.
oh, I'm the best husband and she's a bitch. Is that what we're
Well, all I'm saying is that it's incredibly bizarre that these two, they've been writing plays, they've been writing books for a while, and they've both wrote these great debuts, and they're both about entwined, love triangles with a, I guess, because like John Majero's character and Art are very, very, very similar, and you could like oop, 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 and just swap them, and they're like the similarities aren't that different at all. And I don't think that what's his name? The guy in Past Lives from the past. No, that's John Majero. The Past Life. He has a very different energy to Patrick.
Hai Sung.
Come again?
Hai Sung.
Oh, Hai Sung. Yes. I don't know. It just feels like an incredibly bizarre coincidence that these films come within 6 months of each other.
I want to know who the third is.
Well, this is the thing. This movie instigates that there are two possible thirds because Past Lives is incredibly autobiographical, and then is there a what's that mean? A secret more scarier thing or whatever? A third more scary thing or whatever.
A third secret thing.
I don't even know where to begin.
No, it's interesting. It's interesting you pose that comparison because, like, obviously, without the knowledge of like their connection, I wouldn't have drawn the comparison. But you're right. Like, it is that thing where at different points in the story, you feel for every single person in the triangle, and you want the best for them, but then you also like you feel so conflicted.
Yes, and there is something very. I haven't gone on to look at any of Justin Kritzky's other writing yet, but this stuck out for me when I first watched Past Lives, and now it just feels more and more resonant. In that, do we all remember what the John Majero's book was called when he was signing his book?
God.
Boner. It was just a book called Boner. And so whether Celine Song is intentionally being like, all you write about is dicks, or all you write, I don't know. Where to begin?
Is she wrong?
And there's the very iconic bonus scene in this movie.
Oh yes, there is. What a great.
Has a fucking stroke.
That was so funny. I'm sorry, I wet myself. That
might have been my biggest laugh. Is the not that first one, but the reveal of the grandma actually dying of stroke, and Patrick just with his absolute shit-eating grin, going.
Everything's coming up, Patrick.
Right. I want to talk about this because I think this movie is actually very, very, very equally distributed between the three leads. But I do think they could do some Oscar bullshit and do some category fraud and get Josh O'Connor in Best Supporting Actor, and he has a very strong shout. And I mean, he's not the supporting actor, just like Hannibal Lecter isn't actually the leading actor of, Silence. But they could do some category fraud. And I don't think that this is right because I think he's excellent in the film. But it's Mike Feist who's going to slip through the cracks, pardon the pun, because it is, by complete purpose, and he's excellent in the role. It's by design a subtler performance. It's a more, there's very little. They don't take the duplicitous nature of him at college far enough for the character to have those sort of he does oh yeah, well, he doesn't love you. When did you? But I do think we could get Zendaya an Oscar. And I think, but it's a very long time. I know Julia did Erin Brockovich in March, and then it just carried on. But I don't think anybody's really talking about the film
They're
as an
starting
Oscar
to do a lot of
possibility.
promotion for it, though. I don't know if you've. I'm not sure what your social media presence is, Tom, but they're really pushing her on social media. Like they've got a
Mm.
Tasha Duncan social like Instagram account, and they're doing her and Laura doing like press shoots as the
Her and
character.
Lord.
Oh, I've seen that. That's a
Laura's
designer.
her like stylist.
The personal assistant who's the umpire.
No,
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 no, that's
that's gone
Oh,
out.
he is
That was really fun.
He slayed in that role. I
I
loved
love
him in
that.
that.
code violation. Absolutely hilarious. Absolutely brilliant.
It's a
Also,
racket.
yeah, racket violation. Anytime he covers his mic, it was absolutely brilliant.
Yes, he was great.
And also, I think we could get a Best Supporting Actress nomination, actually, for the wonderful Haley Gates as the Tinder date, who was absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, she was kind of iconic, to be fair. I loved her in that.
This movie had, because it is 3 leads,
Mm.
but it just does. And Guadagnino is so great at this. It's just a film of absolute details. There is no wasted moment. There is no wasted character, and obviously that pairs into Justin Kuritsky's script as well. But even just like the gay couple at the motel, or even the woman behind the desk at the motel at the very start, just such wonderful job in 6 lines or so of painting interesting character, interesting moments, and just every single even to the product placement, which feels in this case not like product placement at all. Yeah, Uniqlo, and all.
Oh God.
I've been validated in my AG1 subscription now that I know that acclaimed tennis player Art Donaldson uses it. There's just every single detail is just so perfect, and really adds a wonderful verisimilitude to it all. And this is kind of what annoys me so much with those bloody title cards. They do such a wonderful job at telling you what year it is, when it is. I never once was like confused in any way, shape, or form. I didn't need. I mean, the worst one of all was, midnight. I know it's after he fell asleep. It's gotten darker. I understand. And
I think, to be honest, I think the only times we really needed them was the initial, like a week before the first scene, and then the 14 years prior. And then
they do such a wonderful
it
job.
to,
I think they do
yeah.
such a wonderful job in
No,
their performances. I haven't
totally
seen
agree.
believable kids like this in such a long time.
Yeah, I mean the costuming, the makeup, like the way that they aged them down was impeccable, but also like the way that they carry themselves as like young people versus adults, it's like so believable. And yeah,
I mean,
just like
yeah,
just to piggyback off that, like the attention to detail and like just like the granular things, like when they're benched like for the break, and then Art has his whole like smorgasbord of like the muscle tape and the multiple shirts, and then Patrick takes off his one dirty ass vest and has to put it back on in 10 minutes. I just love like
he does eat a banana though. Really does eat a banana between.
We will have to wait until the second segment because it will take the whole 40 minutes to talk about all the phallic imagery in this.
Yeah. The churro scene. Gotta love a churro.
Oh, that was a highlight for me, that scene. Oh, it was so beautiful.
It's also, fun fact, the first time that Josh O'Connor ever had a churro.
Wow.
Yeah. The more you know.
I don't like churros. Great scene, but I don't like churros. But I do love cinnamon.
Interesting.
Thank you. I mean, we're a long. See, yeah, again, not to throw Past Lives under the bus or compare them anymore, but like that was one of my big issues with Past Lives was like the 3 acts, and there just didn't feel like any kind of difference in age or mannerisms from that second half when the Skyping and all that sort of thing to them as adults. Where I thought this film just did such a fantastic job. And so believable, and I know a haircut could do so many different things, and I just think in its details, in its granular nature, it's just such a wonderful job. Let's talk about this then before I don't know if this has completely shot to the top of my Guadagnino rankings, but it's incredible. It's definitely. Would you say that this is his most commercially viable film? Because Call Me by Your Name was a huge success.
I would say so, yeah. I mean, so far anyway. Like Burns and All kind of had its brief moment, but then it wasn't
Did it?
entirely palatable.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Did
but
people-
like that's what I mean. Like it was always going to averse like some of its audiences because it was a horror, because it had like these kind of weird themes. Whereas Challengers, on its surface, is like fun, sexy, like it's a great time for everyone. And then you go, and it still is all of those things, but it all like you can also appreciate it at like for its cinematic value and for its storytelling and like the themes underneath. Like I do think there is something there for everyone. I went to see it with our very good friend, the incomparable Asa Frost, and their parents who are tennis players. So it just added.
You said this. You said this the other day. When you say they're tennis, we don't need to talk about Ace's parents, but like semi-pro, or just like fans.
No, they play tennis. They go to a tennis club. Like they.
All right, okay, but they do other jobs.
Community. No, they have other jobs.
All right, I was gonna, yeah. The way that you said it was like Asa was
Their
adopted by
lifeblood.
Serena. Speaking of Serena, that was Justin Kuritsky's first kind of moment. It was that great US Open match where the umpire called that Serena was being coached from the sides, and he didn't know about that rule, and he thought, what an ingenious setup for a film, in that the one person in that arena, whatever court, who cares about this as much as you do, can't speak to you. And then he was looking at those great Wimbledon finals with Mirka Federer, who is an ex-player herself, and just the abs. I mean, I make fun of Judith Murray all the time. Andy.
Honestly, I thought that all he needed for the premise was this film was that one tweet that was like, "Listen to tennis with your eyes closed. It sounds like sex."
Oh my
Yeah.
God, yeah. Sorry, Mike Weiss. Love you, Mike.
Why was his so weird?
It was like,
That's what they sound like. That's what tennis players sound like.
yeah, I
Different
know,
people.
but why
Extra
his
weird.
worse? His was so bad in comparison to Josh O'Connor's.
Like his had like
O'Connor's was
two.
just
Like
Well,
it wasn't just like a one. It was like a
Zendaya's been
two.
saying that a lot. Tashi. Well, yes, no, tennis players. Well, and then I actually thought, if anything, Mike Weiss should have been. I keep saying Mike Weiss. Art Donaldson should have been a more silent player, like Boris Becker, and like he keeps it. Oh, I also listened to a lot of interviews with Luca Guadagnino, who, if I didn't love him enough before, he's having the time of his life. He's like, I love in romance. He talks like a character, to be frank. And he's like, oh, thank you. Like Edith Bauman was like, Luca, fantastic movie, really, really great. He was like, oh, thank you, darling. And he was talking about the song at the very end, which he wrote the lyrics for, Compress, Repress. And he was like, I find very attractive in my partners people. I like to have sex with people about repression. And I was like, yeah, I've watched Call Me by Your Name. And he was like, so I wanted this David Bowie song about lust. Great song. And so then Trent and Atticus, and he calls him Atticus, which is great. And he was like, they wanted to write an original song. And I said, okay, I'm not going to say no to you two. And then I started writing lyrics on my plane. And I was like, guys, it's incredible. And so, yes, he did write the lyrics. And
Like he's in the room.
Listening to those lyrics, 1 minute, repress, compress. I mean, it's just brilliant. Where are the lyrics? Nine Inch Nails. It's been credited to, yeah. 191, 123, touch me, into me, touch me, change. You and you is me, you into me, play the game, 1, 2, 3, I can feel you touch me. So again, yes, technically
I smell
he
an
did.
Oscar.
Wouldn't that be great? I said this about like Dix the Musical, that we need to have more fun. If they bring Luca out to sing it himself, compress, repress, compress, and then just surrender. No one here stays the same. Change, strange, something else, break the rules. Touch yourself. I am you, you are me. It's like, okay, it's a great song, but those are not especially astounding lyrics. No, we'll talk about the music after. So this is the thing, we've done our typical thing where we haven't actually said or talked about anything. Do we talk about now the fact that we're getting another Luca Guadagnino movie before the end of the year? It's called Queer. He's just putting it out there now. It's called Queer, and it's being written by Justin Kritzkis again, and it's an adaptation of the William S. Burroughs novel. And Daniel Craig is playing a gay man in Mexico City who has an affair with a younger man. And I just what a pitch! Another great pitch.
I mean, I'm always down to see Daniel Radcliffe do his thing, so you know.
Daniel Craig.
Oh, okay. I take it back. Can we get Daniel Radcliffe in?
If Daniel Radcliffe was having an affair with a younger man, that would be an entirely different movie.
Well, oh yeah.
But he's not that old. What, he's like 35?
Still looks young. But Daniel, I only want it if Daniel continues his Benoit Blanc impression. We'll be back after a short break to actually get into the body of the film. Very good. Very good. We were saving that one, haven't you? Wow. Right. Let's go through the film. Let's attempt to go through the film. Okay. So we open, which is really annoying because the Wikipedia. This film is presented in a non-linear narrative. The following is a linear summary of the plot. Thanks. Really not helping me. Thank you so much.
Why did they do that?
Because they want to. I don't know. This isn't.
It's okay. I've committed it all to memory.
I did consider. It's on my second watch. It was the middle of the day, and if it was empty, I was going to bring my notepad, but it was quite busy, and I didn't want to be the guy. I don't know. They're about to kiss or something, and then. So we open on this Challenger event. First thing I love, that it's not Wimbledon, that it's not like the Wimbledon final. I just love
town.
I love how small in stakes it is on the surface. I saw a tweet the other day and it was like, I love how the people watching the tennis match don't know anything and just like, wow, this is a lot better than we expected. Do we talk now about the fact that now you're all tennis converts?
Oi, I played tennis when I was a kid. I'm coming back.
It's only me that you had to beg to be interested in tennis, and
I never begged. I never asked. You weren't part of the infamous Sunday.
And thank God for that.
Yeah.
I wish I
made a lot of enemies that day.
I forgot which group you were in, Jazz, and then I did remember that you were one of the people who didn't actually get to the court. And
I got to a court. It was just the wrong one.
Just, my actions on that day, I stand by.
I feel like we have covered this on the pod before. I don't know how we got there, but we have.
Probably.
I feel like we have as well. I feel like we've explained this before.
The long and short of it is that come August, Jazz, I think Tuesdays and Thursdays, T is for tennis. And 2
days a week. Want me to play tennis 2 days a week?
Well, if you want to be as good as
what you're signing up for. This is written into the lease.
God.
There are things to be considered. I did like. I thought it was a pretty good American accent overall, but like the way they say Tashi, like it's a great name, like Tashi. I don't know.
Isn't that so intrinsically like white Americans, like how they kind of make like names sound weird?
Well, how are you supposed to say it is my question.
I'd leave that one out of your tight 10, Rhian, when you're at Soho Palace.
I will say though, Josh O'Connor, like dizzyingly posh. Like I mean, I knew he was British, but then I saw his Letterboxd video and I was like, oh, that's a bit much.
Oh.
What, you don't like him?
I'm a bit disoriented.
Oh, I was like,
Yeah.
I thought his accent was really good. I didn't
It
hear it
was.
slip.
No, it was
No, it
very.
was. That's what I mean. I
Mm.
prefer him as I prefer his American accent to his
To
real
the
voice.
actual Americans. Yeah, okay, fair enough.
We open on this film. Oh well, no, actually, we open on three extreme close-up shots of Art flying above the net, wielding his racket, and Patrick cowering, and then Tashi's eyes, and suddenly, and we're led to believe that, well, or at least I was. I was like, oh, this entire film is going to be building up to him finally wailing on him with a racket. Um, arguably would have been a better ending, but we open then on.
We'll get to that. We'll get to that.
On the Challenger event, and just from the very off, the minute that Atticus Ross and Trent Reznor's score drops, it's just electric, just lights out. Every single shot, feel in the tennis and the filming, just feels so stunningly well crafted. The cinematography of Sayumbo Mukdipram, and just sensational work on everybody involved, and the editing of Marco Costa as well. And it's that thing of where that's a team now of three people who have worked together multiple times and just know each other so intrinsically, and are just bringing this incredible talent to the film. And then, oh yeah, speaking of the score, he'd edited the whole film with Marco Costa, and then he was like, I feel like he's back, Luke is back, and he's like, oh, I this is a real thing he said in an interview. He said, so I messaged Trent and Atticus, and I said, I'm making a movie, and it's going to be very, very sexy, and I put lots of X's and lots of Y's.
I think
He's not
he
wrong.
is my new fave.
And he was like, and I wanted to feel like a house party. I wanted to feel like techno. And it pulls off. And it's a sensational score.
Which also kind of reminded me of Saltburn. That kind of like party, lucid, like it's very techno.
Very house.
Anthony Willis's score for Saltburn is mostly orchestral strings. I don't want to quash your point, but what do you mean?
I'm not obviously not like original score, like the ones that they pulled from like the noughties.
Oh, right. Yeah. It's very atmospheric of time and place, and Luca and Justin Kritzkis did this wonderful thing where they opened up Google and typed in when songs came out and were correct. Incredible choice by the team. Really good. Oh, a hinge. That's good.
That's going in the podcast.
Oh, I don't care. Nobody watches these. This is a real thing. Even the person who I'm going to talk about doesn't watch these things. I recently had another fucking argument about someone was like, oh, can you cut out that thing I said? And I was like, I didn't say it to him, but I was like, do you think anybody watches these at all? The best chance we have is that one of us has a minor role in a Netflix sex education thing, and then people find it retroactively and try to cancel us. That is the only chance we have anybody watching these.
Counting down the days.
And then we get this, it's that unsettling thing, and it happened in Tar, where a movie uses my alarm, and I don't enjoy it. And they do the alarm, and it's like, ooh, ooh. And then we can say this because we're going to talk about how attractive the men are as well. But Zendaya might be the best looking woman we currently have in the industry. I mean,
in the world, I would say.
Yeah.
It's absolutely astounding. The black, when she walks on, and we'll talk about her what I'll call her real intro later. But I know it's outrageous. But when she walks on, and also, well, we'll talk about this now. Mike Feist laying with his little Speedos on. Just like laid in bed. Go on, Rhian.
I will say as well, and I'm thinking of ways to say this that don't sound like weird. This is the most like revealing she has agreed to be on film, because notoriously
I was thinking, yeah,
throughout Euphoria, it was a known thing that while everybody else was like stripped to the bare bollocks, she was
apart
very
from Maud Apatow.
well, yeah, but she was very principled in, not that, you know, it's obviously the empowerment comes from the choice to do it or not to do it, but even under pressure from, like, you know, audiences and writers, etc., etc., she was like, no, don't think it's right for the character. And so I think it's nice that, like, she felt empowered to do it for this particular project, where I do feel it wasn't like ever gratuitous or like for shock value or anything like that.
Completely agree. Completely agree. I think the thing with Euphoria was that obviously everyone, carefully saying this, everybody else was incredibly, like, you know, physical and open in that show, and it looked noticeable by comparison. Whereas this is a movie where everybody's completely game, and, you know, everybody. I thought we were going to see Hang Dong. You know, of all the people, I thought Luca would have sorted it. We get a couple in the laundry room where he's like, "Great game today."
I will say, in the sauna scene, obviously that begins with like, "Can you put your dick away?" And then Mike Weiss has his villain monologue. I fully thought when he was like towering over him that like the button on that scene was just going to be woof, but it was a metaphorical woof.
I don't agree with anything that Art says or does in this movie, apart from don't be naked in a sauna. 2 hours ago, I was in a sauna and just don't want to see it. I like it's, you know, good for, yeah, great. And it's always yeah. And this is that my sauna is a lot smaller than my sauna is a lot smaller than yours. But there was a very firm nod of the head, Hannah.
We talked too much about your penis, Tom. Can we move on?
I don't name a time.
No, she has that in the bag.
Do you have that? When you came back from your boating tour thing at the end of our video.
Do you mean when I worked on a
conversation we had, Thomas, was about your penis?
What was the conversation? And I worked on a cruise line for 2 years.
It was about you bearing your everything to a certain person on FaceTime by accident.
What? I don't even remember this. I accidentally bared my Johnson on FaceTime. I don't remember any of this at all.
Well,
say the first letter of the person if you remember their name. A.
And she told you to put it away. This sounds so much worse than it actually was.
What actually happened? Do you remember, Rhian, as my lawyer?
Yes. Yes.
It wasn't. Surely it wasn't fully out. Oh, I do remember this. I wear shorts. Is that yeah? It wasn't a mouse in the house. It wasn't to keep the mouse in the house situation.
They saw Spike and Donaldson. That's all they say.
Okay, let's move on.
Yeah. What we're talking about. So we there's a lot of build up. We get before we go to 2006. We get the stuff in the hotel first, don't we? I'm struggling because of this fucking Wikipedia. Where we get bobbed Zendaya and he's doing all of his supplements and we meet their daughter and Mommy, can we watch Spider-Verse? And
I got a right laugh in my audience.
I haven't done the math yet, and I know that this is like throwing a grenade in straight away. But when was that night in Atlanta?
Oh, it was I think it was 2012.
It was before Art got injured.
Right, it's in 2000.
It was 2012 because his posters are up and then he walks through the hotel lobby.
Yeah.
Do we know how old? By the way. Do we know how old the daughter is supposed to be? Because she can't be much older than 8 years old.
Oh, we're going to do maths that it's Patrick's kid.
I don't like that.
No,
Oh,
I'm gonna say
shit.
no.
All I'm gonna say is
that.
snow lands, spy lands on top.
What the hell?
No, it can't be his kid, guys, because then you have to take Art's side, because that's a real dick move.
Yeah.
Well, he's got a real death, which I'm not actually sure about Art. The we so there are we what were we talking about? Oh yeah, so we'll talk about that later. So we meet and everything's great, and so he immediately drops the ball. Immediately, my guy drops the ball at one of the pre-tournaments, and we see her as she's a great coach, and she's like, put him on his back end, put him on his back end, and right. Obviously now you're all converts, and it's like, oh, everybody's going to do tennis. Because obviously I love the specificity and that it never talked down to you. And I mean this in the least patronizing way possible, Rhea. But were there times earlier in the movie where you were like, where you didn't understand the tennis? Or I know it's a very simple game, but like when they were talking about the Opens or the Korea Grand Slam or stuff like that, was there any... I'm sorry, this is the worst. I'm so...
Yeah, it was a bit weird when like I was like, so they meant to hit the ball with the racket.
Stop it!
Don't you dare! On the ground.
Don't you dare! Don't you dare!
No, I do think it was relayed in a very palatable, like digestible way. Especially like when he's like explaining it to the Tinder date, and when he's talking to the woman early on who's on, oh, there might be a wild card, or we could cut you the check right now if you drop out, that kind of thing. I think that was all very like seamless.
Yeah, I think they do a wonderful job at kind of outlaying all the information that is necessary in the moment. Speaking of which, we get that scene where Patrick is trying to get into a hotel. He's clearly down on his luck. He's, bombing out games here and there just to get enough money to go from hotel to hotel and that sort of thing. These tiny little challenges, and he's running out of money. And I thought he was going to whore himself to the gay couple. I thought that's where we were going. And then he just stays in his car, and then we find out, and he begs this. Well, he doesn't beg. He doesn't have to beg for anything. And he steals, I guess would be the word, the Duncan. She gives him it, but the rest of that muffin or whatever it is. And then she's like, "There's a wild card. We've just had a word." And she goes over again. Such wonderful creative details, like the Wilson racket and Arts sponsorships and the Aston Martin. I just love when movies. I never feel when it's like this. I don't feel bad about product placement. Like I would much rather that than he's gonna win the Wimbledon Open, or whatever.
Well, because it is meant to be shoved down your throat. It is meant to feel like, oh my
Sorry,
God,
say that again.
Well, and professional sports are like that as well. Like the amount of like you are just a walking advertisement for these brands. I don't know. My favorite bit was like Art's racket is the Wilson racket with the W shock absorber, and then Patrick's got a little like elastic band on his as the shock absorber. I was like, ooh, he's so cool and broke.
But all those things, it's like, is Patrick just always like the better player, but he hasn't got that leg up. Can we talk about this though while we're on the subject? The salt burnification of Patrick coming from money, but for some, like, it never goes into why he can't ask his parents for money. Because then they like
I don't like the opening of that sentence, but we can talk about it. But not everything about money is Saltburn.
No, but it's the reveal that he actually is like well off, and he's like cosplaying as a down on his, as Tashi puts it, a down on his luck, like professional. She's literally saying, like, you're not poor. Stop pretending to be poor.
But the idea of wanting to make something for yourself isn't an absurd idea. Not wanting to, scrounge off other people's money.
But
yes, but you've been doing that for what? Like a decade? There's a point where you gotta throw in the towel.
Yeah, put a handgun in your mouth, as she says. And then we're very early then into 2006 when they're first meeting, and we open on doubles, and they're playing doubles and immediately win the match point and go into, it's not even subtext, it's bold homoeroticism.
Yes.
And then they're immediately eating food, and oh, you're gonna go watch some tennis. You haven't even now. Did any of the dialogue not land for you? Because there were a few moments early on. I don't know where they were talking, where they were like, it was like you were playing a, I don't know what a bully art, but it's like, it wasn't like tennis. It was like a completely different sport. And it felt like, oh, okay. And I guess, and Zendaya's monologue, although it's the thesis statement of the entire film, and she does a good job at pulling it off, but I just can't listen to it. And I love movies more than anything. But anytime anybody in a movie starts talking about the magic of movies, I want to die. and this kind of has that with the magic of tennis. So it's like, we were symbiotic. And, it's like, okay, all right, yeah, tennis is great.
It did take me a while to get on board. Well, not get on board, but like, yeah, I there were a couple of moments in the very beginning where I was like, the way that they're talking to each other is a little bit jarring. Like, it doesn't feel entirely natural.
Mm-hmm.
But then I don't know whether like I adapted to that as the style, or whether it did just get a little bit more conversational as time went on.
Yeah, I don't know if I find this with most of like Luca's films is that at the beginning it's a lot of like, I need to sign up to the magical realism of this film and just like dive headfirst in. Otherwise, I'm gonna find it all a bit meh. But now
I don't think so with Call Me by Your Name. I think that's a
no, I do. I find that
yeah.
I find the extensive amount of monologuing used in that film as well.
The
Like I really had to.
dance scene springs to mind. Like,
yeah, but that's the ending.
Lovely, but yeah, no, yeah.
But I mean, for me, with that film, it starts with the beginning where Timothy Chalamet, the character, is talking about like I was young and he was beautiful, blah blah blah. Like,
Oh
okay,
yeah.
yeah. So I think it's just like part of Luca's like specific love of monologues, which I like. So you just got to get used to it and then sign up for it and
Go
live
from
with
there.
it.
This is, and then we get the introduction of Tashi, and this is what, because technically we do obviously meet her before, but the introduction of her with the blasting of the score, and her walking on and just watching her play a game, like it's up there sexiness wise as like Caddyshack and just the lacy underalls walking on and taking the big dive off the pool, and there's nothing more erotic than sexy people being good and talented at things, and this has everything, and it's got great music, and she just doesn't drop. I looked at the scoreboard. She doesn't drop a game. She does a perfect set, and it's like, yeah, wow. And
I genuinely felt like I was sat next to the pair of them, like gawking. Like that's how it makes you feel. It makes you feel voyeuristic, like the way that it's shot, and like you said, the slow-mo, like it's just, yeah, perfect.
But also, it's this movie, to say as such a wonderful handling of tone as it is, during those early parts, there are like full gags and faces that you'd find in like Weird Science or like Ferris Bueller. Yeah. Like they're just doing like, or even like the kissing and her pulling back and then the okay, and they both turn. I mean, that's just like a gag right out of the Airplane. Like, and that wonderful handling of tone is impeccable. And then we get this initial setup of oh, sorry, yes, and then we go to the Nelly party where we're playing Hot, and it's what a great party. I'm not sure about what the tone of this party is because it's 2006 and they're playing Hot in here. Sure, that makes sense. But then they start playing The Fine Young Cannibals with Suspicious Minds. And see, this is the thing. This is a movie that plays the song Suspicious Minds and never once feels on the nose.
Jazz, you're as Zendaya authority because you tolerate the Spider-Man movies like I don't.
They're good movies.
Love Spider-Man movies.
Is this the best we've ever had, Zendaya?
I think it's like a development of Zendaya. Like, I feel like she's going into like a new era of like her career and like the roles that she's going to be playing, because we've only ever seen her really as a teen. Like, I can't think of anything where we haven't seen her as a teen.
Malcolm and Marie, but that was shit. So don't watch it.
Yeah, but like still, she felt young in that. Like, she still felt young in that, and it felt very like pretend. Whereas this time, I was like believing that she was like in her like they're like early 20s, late. No, not early 20s, late.
They end up in their 30s. They end up in their 30s.
And she's like a mum. I know we don't see a lot of her being a mum, but like, you know, I believed it. I was like, yeah, I could believe that Zendaya is a mum. So I think she's evolving. It's like a Pokemon moment.
Yes. Right. Okay. Place your bets now. Do we ever get Euphoria Series 3? Jazz, go.
No.
No. Hannah?
No.
Rhian?
Well, they're going to try their darndest. I mean, they've already said that it's unviable to pick it up where they left off. Because, I mean, Jacob Elordi's going to be in a fucking mobility scooter. But
he's going to be Frankenstein.
Oh, yeah. But, like, yeah, I mean, I would like them to call time of death on it, personally.
But what about that cliffhanger? What about Sydney Sweeney at the door?
I don't think they know what they were going to do with it, because season 2 felt like it had no real connection to season 1.
I think season 1 is like a perfect season. So season 2 was never going to be great. I don't know if I'm just getting like I'm getting Sydney Sweeney fatigue, and I kind of need her to disappear for years. Yeah, you're a boy. Shush. Okay.
No,
I take issue with this also.
No, I think she's just it's not even that she's done anything necessarily. I've seen her so much recently that I'm like, can you be gone for like 6 months and then I can take you again, you know? That's a bit mean, but like that happens with like everyone for me. I feel like most actors and even like musicians need to be aware of like when you are in the press too much. And then people will start picking up.
Hi guys. Oh, I'm gonna drop an album. Just kidding. I'm gonna drop 31 songs.
Listen, I say the same for Taylor. I think she is getting to her. I'm getting Taylor fatigue, and I'm seeing her in June. So I'm like distancing myself from her now.
Thank God he is so dumb that he doesn't realize that she's written 31 songs about how she's still in love with the weird, wiry, awful man that she used to be with. Right. And then we get this wonderful setup of the oh no, the bet comes after the kiss. They're hitting on her. I wish I'd let her fuck me with a racket. And then they hit on her, and then they bring again. He just can't help himself. I want to lock the camera down and just have a dance. And I imagine him, Joel Schumacher. Maybe it's because they're both gay, but like Joel Schumacher used to have a bullhorn, and he would be like, more sinister, George. And he used to direct with a bullhorn. And I imagine Luca Guadagnino's the same, just like cheering anybody on who's dancing, like, yeah, you look great, Z. You look great.
I like the idea of him calling her Z.
Yes, I called her Z earlier in the text message, and I thought, oh, I'm so cool. But then I had to talk about Joshua Connor.
Sorry, can we address the kissing in this film? Is it or was it like like a lot of tongue? It was like they were eating each other.
It felt very like
erotic.
Teenage. No, it felt very like wide. Just a lot of.
It was like a competition, guys. It was a tennis match.
Oh.
What's the saying they're saying about this film? The medium is the story, or blah blah blah, something like that.
The
Have you not
subject
heard
is
that?
the movie.
The medium is the movie. That's what people have been
Yeah.
saying.
Oh, you sound like Trump. People have been saying Zendaya, the kissing's like a tennis match. We what was I gonna say? Oh, I thought you were gonna go down the line then of Tom, he's going to watch.
No, because I think like we all trained to be actors. We're all aware that when you kiss someone on stage, unless you fancy them, it's kind of unpleasant and it's just like work. It's not something that personally I didn't ever take
Hey, I'll
any.
take that job.
Okay, listen, Rhian, you had your showmances, but I didn't take any pleasure from kissing my co-stars in
Oh
anything.
no, the actual stage kisses were like gross and weird.
Yeah.
See, this is the thing. I understand how intimacy coordination works, but there's a lot of like, I won't say sloppiness, but like, you can't choreograph every single one of those kisses on her chest and like reaching for her ear. And that's what I know. I like, there's a lot of fumbling around and lots of hands and lots of
And
stuff.
I do think that is the hallmark of good direction and intimacy direction, like as a subset of that, is like making it look natural and making it look clumsy. Like, which I think it did very well. One bugbear that I have is the like internet phenomenon now of being like, this wasn't in the script, it was improvised, and like you read on and it's like, actually it wasn't. Basically,
Yeah, what was
the
what?
three-way kiss was not in the early versions of the script, and then Luca was like, I need something to show that they. Sorry, I'm doing it now.
You're doing it now. It's
like,
fun, isn't it?
I need something to show that like
All the
at the
triangles
core of the
touch.
competition, yeah, there is an attraction to one another that they can't
Wait,
escape.
you're telling me that famous gay creator Luca Guadagnino wanted to make the love triangle gayer?
I know, crazy.
What's the name of his next movie again? Let's talk about that scene right now. We're here. And right, I said this about Saltburn. And I think that I much prefer this film. There's not even a shadow in my mind.
Yeah.
But once again, did we need to see some fucking already? All of these movies that are all about sex, and we don't actually see anything ever. And I know we don't need to, but come on.
Therein lies the tension and like the pining and the yearning. This film didn't need any sex for me.
But there's no pining in
it. It was sex. It was erotica.
Well, I like to think that again, the movie is the medium. You know how we never got an end to the game. We never got sex. We got everything leading up to it, and then we just assumed that it happened. But then we never got the end of the final tennis match, but it did end.
It's cinematic edging.
Yes.
Tagline bingo. I'm throwing that in the ring.
No, I agree. I'm just being facetious. I think this film does a wonderful job of presenting sexuality without some sort of gratuitous scene. I guess you could make the argument, though. I guess my Saltburn argument comes again. Did they need to have sex after she left? Maybe. I know that's just like Control Alt bold, but like, did there need to be something a little bit more? Maybe did perhaps?
Which bit are you talking about now?
After the kiss.
Patrick.
Yeah.
I like to think that they did what they did in school, where they just
they just
each other,
laid next to each other.
Because then you wouldn't get the all important moment where Art's trying to figure out if they did it or not.
Yeah.
When they start seeing each other. That, oh my God, that was like the moment where I understood what it was to be a sports fan. Because I was like, he's gonna do it. He's gonna do the little ball on the racket thing. Like, I guess, like, I called it about 10 minutes before it actually happened. And it was just the lead up and the lead up. And then, like, I wanted to stand up and cheer.
Oh, it was well, this is the thing, right? Do we talk about the ending now? Do we talk about the ending now?
No. We'll
No,
go
okay, that's fine. So we get the threesome kiss, and then and then this is where we start cutting back and forth to the game. And again, it's all there. Patrick has the upper hand. Patrick wins the first set. Art has the upper hand. Art wins the second set. It's all there, but it's perfectly fine. And it's I don't mind a bit of on your face, in your face, on the nose stuff. I don't mind it. Oh, stop it! Stop it! It's a juvenile.
You the one who said it.
And then we get duplicitous art, which is where me and Jazz finally get to win. He's a little shit at Stanford, maybe
in a fun way.
Yeah. Oh no, it's a great film. I'm just being completely facetious for the sake of content. But maybe he doesn't love you. Maybe no.
I think he's so valid in that. I would do the same if I had the chance as Zendaya.
Well, Patrick even says that, doesn't he? He was like, "I'd be the same thing if I was in your position." Like,
Patrick
I love
would.
seeing
Patrick
you fired up
worse.
about something.
Patrick does worse.
Yeah, I love the absence of I think it's a very gendered moment of you expect them to be really underhanded with each other as well, but instead Patrick's like, "You motherfucker," and he just calls him out instantly. There's not that kind of subtle side eye of "Oh, what are you plotting?" It's just no holds barred. They are bros. And
Well, this is the thing. Yeah,
Shiro.
it's kind of like watching. It's kind of like all the modern day stuff. It's like watching what would happen after an 80s comedy like Class or any of those love triangle comedy, or like Pretty in Pink. It was like, okay, so she does choose Duck. What happens 20 years later? We're at the prom. The other guy comes, and it's which is a great conceit. See, this is the thing. If the art injury didn't occur and Art didn't worm his way in, would Patrick and Tashi have continued and been happy forever after? No, definitely not. They would have outgrown each other and just had some young fun. But would her career have lost? She's with Art to hang on to something that she's lost, or does she actually love Art, or is Art just her last connection to tennis?
I think each of them were the right person for her at different stages of her life. She met, she was with Patrick and it was hot, and the competition element was doing it for the both of them. Bro has a degradation kink, to an extent.
Patrick?
Yeah, that whole scene where he's like, "Oh, why is he better than me?" And she's like, "He's smart, he's funny." He's getting off to that.
No, he doesn't. Sorry. Yeah, he doesn't. This is the thing. He's yeah, sure. He's degrading Art in that moment. He's not, because he's degrading Art because at the end of the day, she's on top of him.
No, there's it's the nuance moment I enjoyed. But then you've got kind of the turning point of her injury, and it's not that she's down on her luck. She's still very successful, but her pride and her confidence has taken a hit, and then she meets Art again, who has his love and adoration of her has never dwindled.
I do like how Lucas shot it like one of his horror movies when he first comes to see her at the Nets, and they have those slow zoom in, and she just, "Hi." Yeah. We've again not really actually talked about much of anything. Where are we in this? I guess she's had her injury. I guess we'll come back. We'll come back and talk from the incredibly sexy one take into the injury, into Atlanta, into Carstorm, into "She was me." into the ending. That's what's left, isn't it?
Mhm.
Yeah, very good stuff. All right, we'll be back momentarily. One. We vaguely got up to the kiss. Jazz, Hannah, Rhian, do you have any other thoughts on the kiss of the year? Did it live up to your expectations?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it did.
It is the kiss of the year, and I don't need to see anything else.
Yeah.
No, I know. I wasn't naive, but I thought, because they did in the trailer, they showed the shot of her, leaning back and smiling. And I always just thought it was like that somewhere in the edit, she was gonna be like, come on. And it was gonna be both of them. What a brilliant twist. There's not many. I do think overall the trailer did reveal too much. Didn't impact my enjoyment any. We haven't talked about the trailer yet. I was in the middle of the sea and the news came, Challenger's trailer. And I was like, I finally made a trailer. And none of my Wi-Fi's were good enough. So I had to use the work computer.
Christ.
And then
Internet cafe.
So I literally put it on and there wasn't too many people in, so I turned it up a little bit and the first, oh no, come on.
Stop looking at
They used that in the film.
No, which I remember saying to Jazz, they better use it in the film.
And they didn't. Oh, okay.
Quite disappointing. I just want to say, S&M, one of the great disco tracks of all time. I've always enjoyed it, and I used to have to DJ on board, and it still works. Everybody still loves S&M, and these are, to be polite, middle-aged to elderly women, and they still love Rihanna.
I'm so glad you also have a relationship to S&M by Rihanna. It was my college performing arts classes warm-up song every day. And Pamela Chapel-Weiner, my middle-aged tutor, still a spring chicken, because she would conduct that physical warm-up every time, and she did not change the choreography in the however many decades she worked at this college. And there was a lot of there was a lot of there was exactly that. I didn't want to do it on camera, but there was a lot of that. And so obviously I'm 5 years out of college.
Thanking for our listeners.
Yes, for the Spotify listeners. I'm 5 years out of college, and occasionally I'll get a Snapchat notification from my old group chat, and it's just someone's in a club and S&M is on, and they're like, "This is for you guys."
It's a great track. Stephen King, one of Stephen King's Desert Island Discs is Ponder Replay, one of the great facts of my life.
Yeah.
It's one of the funniest interviews ever. He's like being asked about his car accident where he nearly died. And then she says, and what's your next track? And he goes, well, I chose Ponder Replay by Rihanna because for me, disco never died. And it's got a good beat and you can dance to it. What a great man. So then Patrick wins because he is the better player. No, Art is definitely the better player. But Patrick has that raw intensity that you can skate off. Well, this is the thing. What's sexier? Raw power and unpredictability, or I'm really good at one thing and I'm going to do that the same every single time. And I'm not talking about tennis anymore, because you can make the comparisons very swiftly.
I don't know. Like, I felt like it was meant to seem like their trajectories professionally were kind of going like this. Like, I thought Patrick maybe started out as the worst player, but then eventually got better than Art.
No, I think Patrick is just unhomed. And we're seeing it currently in the tennis world with Alcaraz, who is an astounding player, but is so young and full of energy and is truly an incredible player. But there is that old guard who is saying, I mean, obviously he did beat Djokovic, but there is that old guard who is saying, is this a flash in the pan thing, or will he grow the technique to be a long-lasting player? And that's where, for lack of a better way to say it, the boredom can arise in a coaching relationship, or in this case, in a marriage. we then. So let's talk about Atlanta then, because I guess this is where.
We're not allowed to talk about Atlanta.
Is that wasn't in the film?
No, I'm paraphrasing.
Oh, cut in between the sauna. It's the less, and and then he comes in swinging, and when of course when we were teenagers, and do you think there was ever a moment where in the sauna where he was like, "I fucked your wife"?
What, like said it out loud?
No. Where he was like considering it.
Oh, for sure.
Well, definitely in that moment, right before he goes, when we were teenagers, he was definitely like, do I just say it?
But he can have that forever. Like he can always have the power. And poor Art is. I feel like we're giving Mike Feist a short shrift. I think he's wonderful in this film, and I'm just being entirely facetious. I really do think he's sensational.
And also, like, he's in my list of problematic faves. Of like, yeah, he was underhanded, yeah, he was petty about it, but like, he got the girl at a cost. But like,
I like how my list of problematic film faves includes Gracie from May December, a pedophile, Annie Wilkes from Misery, a child murderer, and yours is like, yeah, he's not really a loving husband anymore.
Well, no, that was never the issue. But I mean, I said this to you last night, and I said it to Asa as soon as we left the cinema. Like, I don't think he ended up being right for Zendaya, but he's right for me.
Fatashi.
Yes, Fatashi. But like, I would say I'm well adjusted enough to be very content with that life. He could retire tomorrow, and that's all right with me.
Even if he did,
we're good.
Even if he didn't get the US Open, well, she's like, we can be rich, you know. She's saying it like we can live in a Baghdad prison, you know. We can be rich, we can live in hotels, you know. We can do the foundation full time, and it's like, yeah, I give my left nut to do all of those things.
Let's do it. Now, I think obviously a lot more was at stake because, as he says, like he's playing for the both of them, and so him hanging it up is them hanging it up for good. And so, you know, obviously a lot is on the line. But
I'm going to say something to you, and I don't want you to get angry.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Oh my gosh, yeah, when he like echoes Patrick. Oh.
I love a slip. There is nothing like a silk slip, but that's another matter entirely. Atlanta. Oh yeah, so he shows up again. If we needed to know that he was a dirty scumbag, he's still wearing the same shirt that he accidentally grabbed on the way out 10 years ago, and which is a great image. And then we get this moment of and he comes straight in. So we're gonna get married, and it's Benjamin Button syndrome. We're gonna have one last try, I guess. Nobody has to know. And I'm sorry, Art is like, Tashi, you want to go to bed now? And then someone says, hi, Mr. Donaldson, can you sign my cab? And he turns around, woo, woo, woo. And they're back to... Also, they kiss in that bar. And then we see the bar, and it's a very, very open bar. Did Tashi want to get...
bar? Sorry, that was low-hanging fruit.
Back to the sauna scene. Did Tashi want to get caught? I mean, I guess that's at the back of every cheater's mind. That's the attraction, I guess. Not in, but that's a very open kiss.
It felt very convenient. I think if again, like very, tight, like no fat on this movie at all. But if I were to get rid of anything, like I don't think we needed that moment where he sees them together and they're not. Like
it's kind of like trying to do that complicated power thing of like, oh no, I know,
I know that you slept with her, but it doesn't bother me. It's like, oh, yeah.
Yeah. It's
But
like,
like
Really?
clearly it does bother him though. Like
Yeah.
my whole thing is like I wasn't sure if he thought that he was like hallucinating them being in the bar or if he actually knew that they were there. Because then why was he so like floored by the reveal that like
Yeah.
Patrick had slept with her? So
Mm.
he must have not even like computed that it had happened.
I guess it's 8 years. Like at that in 2011, it's only been 4. Maybe he thinks, okay, she's still a young woman, I guess. You know, she wants, I'll let her get this out of her system. And the
Mm.
idea of them doing it after a baby, sorry to interrupt, Rhea, but the idea of having it after the marriage and after the baby is like more shocking to him.
I think
For me, it's cheating is cheating, and I'm mad either way. But you know,
Oh no, no, no. Oh yeah,
you're
no,
very open.
I completely agree. As a Zweig, not a Tashi, I completely agree. Rhian?
I think on reflection, they did need that scene because otherwise the stakes aren't as high for art. Like, and the whole attitudes around Patrick, you can't be here, like you can't speak to us, like we don't want you around. Not just like I don't want you around as my ex, but like my husband wouldn't like the fact that I'm talking to you. Like, because if it was just like they dated in college and then they broke up and like they never spoke again, it would be a different dynamic of like, oh, I'm playing with this guy that I used to be friends with. You know? I think you did need that kind of like middle moment where he wasn't sure if anything happened and so he's never going to bring it up, but there is that underlying tension of like he was in the picture.
I see.
The sauna scene is a prime example of the score being intentionally overpowering. Now it worked for me, but I've read some reviews that it didn't work. Was there any moments in the film where you did feel the score was a little bit overpowering in those dialogue scenes?
Not so much in the dialogue scenes. And again, I don't know if I'm going to regret saying this or if on a second watch I'll feel completely differently, but that last sequence, because I was waiting. Wait. Because I was waiting for the pivotal ball on racket moment, it felt very long. Like that whole like, and you know,
It felt long yesterday, especially when you really know what's coming. It did feel slightly drawn out.
But at the same time, like I will forgive it that, because like I think the last game was meant to feel like you're on tenterhooks for like way too long without any, again, for want of a better word, release.
What's left to oh yeah, let's talk about, okay, so now we're on the eve of the game, and he comes to her in not a disappointing fail marriage scene, but not my favorite. Tell me it doesn't matter. And he's just so, again, I'm being facetious. I think it's a wonderful choice, and I think the film's perfect. But like, just when he lays onto the bed and looks at her, how have you been with him for 9 years?
I liked it.
Jazz,
I just want my boyfriend to worship me. So like, love the idea that he's literally like he's looking up at her like she's this god, and she's looking down.
She's Jesus. What am I, Jesus? Yeah.
Zendaya does this great like, I don't give a fuck if you exist face. She does it the whole film, and it's amazing.
Are we missing a moment of true love?
I don't think Tashi loves anyone except for Tennant.
I don't think she's there's this thing that's going around on TikTok where it's like Patrick loves art loves Tashi loves tennis, and that's why they'll never work, because
but they all love a good hot night, which is the moral of the story.
See, I disagree. I do think she loves him, but in a kind of self-serving way. The puns, they just keep coming in a self-serving way, and then it gets to the point where that's just not enough. Like Patrick says it, like, who is he if he's not a champion tennis player to you? Like, and she's never really had to think of that scenario before, because until recently, until his losing streak, he's always been this like projection of everything that she wanted for herself. So like, and I think we do get some nice like kind of semi-intimate moments in the beginning, like when they're in the swanky hotel, and like they have like a little bit of banter. Obviously she's still very firm as his coach, but I think there's still like a
But even then, we get the one time where he actually wants to have sex with her, or at least makes a move, and she's like, "Okay, let's." Like, so, and then for the rest of the film, she's like, "Why don't you?" And then we get this. I overall think that the use of music is very good, but it's around this stage that we get this. Where is it? What's it called? There's a soft Spanish song. Where is it?
Repress, compress.
No, it's not repress, compress. It's it's like this soft Spanish song.
Is that the one where she's like getting the like she gets the text, she gets her phone out, she's texting?
Yeah, and she texts Patrick, and I was like, "What is this?"
That reminded me of the samba. Oh no, the bossa nova SNL sketch.
It literally is the same song. And I was like, "We're doing okay, interesting." Also, how did we feel about the choral singing? Because I
thought it was quite fun.
It's like, okay, interesting choice. You've got one of the great composers of our time working on making you a score. Because I really like what is called Louf, which is their piano track. Yeah. Again, Luca was like, it's so we have the Benjamin Britten and the children and the voices, and it's supposed to represent the beauty and the innocence of these younger people. It's like, yeah, all right, singing, yeah, a choir of children singing is supposed to represent your innocence. Okay, nice. Nice, Luca. And then we come to this storm scene where Tashi is like, okay, she and her and Patrick are in the car, and it's like, I didn't come here to fuck you, Patrick, and and then see, this is the thing, Jazz. This is where we win, because this is, you want to talk about, especially after how tepid the previous scene was, a scene that ends with, oh, they're about to have sex, they're kissing, it's hot, she's leaning in, she's like getting hot. Just hold me until I fall asleep.
Okay? Just say you have no emotions, okay?
No, but after a while, that's just a bit of a wet blanket, isn't it? I would be like, grow up, stop doing that. You're not a child, are you?
You'd be so good as Tashi, Jazz.
Using his energy before a big game, guys. You don't understand how athletes work.
That's not true. The Olympic Village is famously a sex place. There's a big difference between, emotionality and tenderness, and him coming to her initially, between kiss, 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 we're getting hot, we're touching each other, and then pulling away, oh, can you wait? I want to go to bed. And so she keeps her slip on and she puts on a big jumper, and then I told him you were an Uber driver. I just love Patrick so much. Let your Uber driver drive you back to your family. And you know what the worst part is? You did come here to fuck me. Now, this is the scene I wanted. The previous scene kind of disappointed me on a first watch. I was like, oh, all right, okay. And again, you want to talk about your edging. And then we finally get some, gumption and energy. And we're like, yeah, here we go. And then she spits in his face. And then it has to happen. It has to happen.
And the billboard.
Yeah, with him looking, oh, it's so good.
So I'll do this now. So they cut back and it's Titanic, and all the windows are steamy, and they're fully naked. That's a small car. Now, I've personally never encountered such a full length activity in a car. I've only partaken in smaller activities. However, for a full length and them being completely naked, that is a very, very small car.
I don't know. I've had friends who've done it in Mini Coopers, so I feel
Yeah,
like
I had a friend who did it in a Fiat 500. Like,
But were they fully naked?
I don't
I
know. I
don't
didn't
think
get that
it's
far in the
realistic.
that much
details.
detail.
I mean, you could get fully naked, but yeah, I think like the romanticization of car sex is an epidemic because it's like it's just never that seamless.
I don't know. Patrick might be a pro. He was living in that car.
That's
Yeah,
true.
he's very comfortable in that
Living and
car.
loving.
Yeah.
And then, but this is the thing. This is the big thing. What do we see afterwards? Them in a tender embrace and him holding it. That wasn't some quickie. That was something passionate and beautiful. And they're laid together in each other's arms. That is not just, oh yeah, Patrick. Yeah, Art's the sensitive one, and she loves art, but she loves having sex with Patrick. They are like, it's like in a genuine tender embrace.
Well, yeah, no one was suggesting that he was like the racket and the dick. Like there's still like so much emotional intensity with both of them.
Mm.
But I think, yeah, Patrick was always like the kind of perceived as the romantic, and it just wasn't like it's safe. It's the safe, reliable choice.
We go back to my ex's opinion that Lindsay and Stevie definitely had sex at some point over the next 30 years. Oh, yeah. And then we come to the next day, and it is the culmination of this match. I guess I'll go last. This is how it's described during the tie break. Oh, sorry, we first thing so we can all agree on the moment of the year thus far. And again, you know it's going to happen. I didn't personally peg it 10 minutes before, Rhian. Did you genuinely peg it 10 minutes before, or?
Yes.
Oh, right. I was kind of like, I was in those moments, I was like, oh, what's it going to? And then and then I thought, oh. Mm-hmm. I was kind of, I guess, late to it compared to you.
I thought you were trying to say that you pegged it from like when he first did it or something.
No. I pegged it like 30 seconds to a minute before it happened. I was like,
oh no, I was waiting.
Oh.
But I was like, because it got to the point where I was like, the sequence had been so long, I was like, oh, he's not going to do it. I've just made that up. And then when it happened, it was so satisfying.
Yeah, because they fake it out several times. Where he like almost does it, and you're like, and then when he finally does it, literally gasping for air. I was pulling out my hair. I was like, raw.
And then we get off. Yeah, fuck off. He can serve. You got to be in your position. He can serve, and then we get this wonderful little knock over, which is glorious. And then we get this final rally, which is described as thus. The rally intensifies until both jump for a volley at the net before either can hit the ball. Arts collides with Patrick over the net. The two tightly embrace, and Tashi cheers from the stands.
Is your big question going to be, well, I don't know the rules of tennis, but disqualification? He touched the net?
Yeah, no, it wouldn't be a there's no disqualification. But that point would be forfeited. You can't touch the net. So Patrick would have won that point. But a tiebreaker is normally 1st to 7. And from the way that it's depicted, it looks like they've only played one point. So there's still
the rest of the game to play. That's not my Tom's big question. My Tom's big, well, no, okay. You three be positive first. Jazz, did you love the ending?
Yeah. I feel it was like her little monologue came to fruition. She got what she wanted in the end, which is why I don't really care who she ends up with. I'm just glad that she got her good game of tennis.
Mm.
I liked it. I thought it was a very good ending.
Yeah, I agree. I think we finally got them seemingly being friends again. Like maybe, maybe not completely, but like it came across as like I love you more than I love Tashi. It was like they loved each other in that moment more than they love tennis or they love Tashi. And I love that. It was great.
Yeah.
It answered all the questions that I felt I needed answered. Because like I usually really struggle with open endings to things. But I think it's like you said, like I was so content in not knowing what happens with their marriage or with their respective relationships, because I'm like, this was what they all came to see and what they came to do. And like just the generosity from Patrick and like that unspoken like conversation between them of like, we're gonna give it hell, we're gonna leave it all on the court. And like, because that was my thing. I was like, I need to know if they show the win, I need to know if Patrick actually like forfeited it, like actually did what Tashi wanted and threw the game. Because I was like, that feels like the biggest betrayal in like the context of the film. Obviously in real life the biggest betrayal is the cheating, but to know that whatever happened, that they played a good honest game of tennis, that's all I needed.
I haven't been this kind of lukewarm on an ending of a film that I truly loved since Babylon, and I loved Babylon so very much. And it's Stockholm syndrome. I will lie to myself over time that I like this ending, even though I don't think at my core I actually do. And I think there is an ending that ends just after the signal. And again, see, I've talked about this with the like open endings myself. Of like, I often feel like it's a cheap way out, and I don't feel there is enough about in Tashi's. There is, it is all. See this, I don't know. Every single time I try and say something concrete, I immediately catch myself. Like there are times where I don't feel like Tashi cheering and going, "Come on," and smiling and being happy at that result is a realistic reaction for Tashi. But then, of course, there's the stuff in the film about her just wanting to watch a good game of tennis and that sort of thing. I don't think there's enough of it for that. There is there's the ending where he's just been told, that this guy fucked his wife and he's got a kid with her. I don't think he'd be smiling and laughing and ha ha ha, catch me. I don't think that that's the ending. And then just in general, the whole thing of like, yeah, okay, it kind of masks that we do get an open ending because we don't find out who wins. And there is a world, I think, where Patrick does a double fault intentionally and loses the match, but he does the serve. Sorry, he does the signal, does a double fault. Art wins the game, and he's stood there. He's won the game. Tashi got what she wanted, and Patrick, did the double fault to give Tashi what she wanted, but none of it matters, and the whole crowd is cheering, and Art is just stood there. And to me, that's the darker ending, and it's perhaps less of a fuck yeah, play repress compress, but that would have been a stronger ending. And I feel like this does kind of take an easy road out. And I do think as time goes by, I will just come to terms that that's the ending I got. And the fact that I love 99.98% of this movie so much, and that it just, pardon the pun, drops the ball at that last. For me personally, it did kind of feel like instead of saying anything solid at all, it kind of said everything and nothing. And it didn't work for me. And on a second watch, even knowing where it's going, I don't know.
I do think that alternative ending holds a lot of water. I do think that would have been very compelling. However, I think it was a mark of the film's success that it made Tashi's of us all. And that sounds really wanky, but it's like the whole way through you see her as this kind of like power hungry, like, machine. And you don't always fully understand, like, well, you understand her motivations, but you don't always relate to them because we're programmed to, have an emotional connection to these things. But then by the end, we are her. Like we see it, like Jazz said, like we see her monologue come to fruition. Like we see what it is she's been talking about this whole time. Like we're fully on board with the conceit of the movie.
But it's also not a great game of tennis because the game of tennis technically isn't finished because all we see is 1 point of a 7-point tiebreak.
But it's like she said, she was like in that game with, I can't remember her name now, but
Anna, the one who wins Wimbledon,
yeah,
the racist bitch.
As she says, like we probably played about 20 seconds or however long of actual tennis in that game, so the outcome almost didn't matter to her, but it was that brief period of a really good game.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think she might have been talking about sex in that moment as well? I'm just throwing it out there. I don't think we've got enough for another 40 minutes, so I'm going to call it now with 4 minutes left to go. Hannah, your final thoughts on Challengers?
It's amazing. Zendaya is the film star of the century. Love her. She's been in both of my favorite films of this year, Challengers and Dune Part 2. So, yeah,
both
I'm looking
movies about her riding a big worm.
Stop, why did you ruin it like that? Anyway, Zendaya, my favorite. Love her. Always have, always will.
Jazz.
I loved it. Loved Zendaya for a long time. Loved all of them for a long time, to be honest. And it's nice to see a film that actually gets your noggin going. Like there are a few other films, like I saw Monkey Man recently, and I just felt like I knew where the plot was going. Okay, don't roll your eyes at that. It was still a very good film.
No, it was still good.
But like I knew where it was going. Whereas with this one, there were twists, there were turns. I was constantly switched on. And I feel like that's quite rare these days with films. So I enjoyed it.
Switched on would not be the term I would use. Rhian?
I knew you were going to latch onto that. Yeah, just a knockout. Like everything I wanted it to be, and then some. I will leave you on this bombshell that I found during the break. The director going on record in an interview saying, "I don't watch tennis matches. It's quite boring to me."
I take back.
Brilliant.
I take back everything I said about Luca. See, this is the thing, though, isn't it? You've got like Justin Kritzky's who said like he got really into tennis, and then the screenplay came from that, and and then Luca, who is then an incredibly visual and obsessive, sort of lustful, and everything has to be so sexy filmmaker, bringing that to something that he doesn't have any interest in at all. Which kind of leads me to I think this is a really perfect, very, very strong film. It probably exceeded my expectations because I liked it on the formula, on those involved and the premise alone, but the fact that it lived up to everything, and I do think, my slight qualms with the ending aside, it is going to be a Babylon thing or a Magnolia thing where over time I lie to myself and like, oh no, the ending's perfect. I love the ending, because I love the rest of the film so incredibly, incredibly much. And I can't wait for Queer, and I can't wait for. I want Zendaya to do another nice, fun adult drama because she's doing Dune Messiah next, which of course will be great, hopefully, and another Spider-Man apparently. And I don't want any of these. I do want Dune, but like I
I don't want any of these things for anybody. I just want
Oh, shut up.
keep making challenges. What are they going to do? It's just going to be the entire movie about like, hey, Mary, I know you don't remember me, but
Don't talk on what you don't know.
No comment. I'm
I
not
do
gonna
know. Have you listened to my No Way Home podcast?
No.
No.
It's 90 minutes of that. Right. Okay. As that was as wonderful as it always is.
Ba 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 ba